What's up, YouTube? PokePrimer here, primed and ready to deliver you the most important draft analysis of my draft career. Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially joined the Showdown Division of a, I suppose recently prominent, but it's probably been around for a while. I just haven't seen it because I didn't follow anybody who was in it. But we joined the UPA's Showdown Division. The UPA is an uploading Wi-Fi league on YouTube. My buddy Incog was a part of it in its most recent season, and he threw out the applications once they started looking for people for their Showdown Division, and I made it in. So super duper hyped for this opportunity, and hopefully I will live up to the right to be here. Fingers crossed I won't blow it. But yeah, the UPA is here. I'm super duper excited to be a part of this. This is going to be so much fun. And I can't wait to mix it up with some of these guys. Incog's actually in this one as well, so I'll actually have a chance to play Incog. I've been in leagues with Incog, around Incog, and I still have yet to play Incog, I believe, in Draft League. I don't believe I've played him yet. So definitely excited to play the man, the myth, the legend. It's going to be a lot of fun. His sets are insane, so it's going to be crazy to face him. He actually drafted a rain team here, which is kind of wild. But yeah, this season they're doing a Nat Dex league because it's on Showdown, so they can. They have included Megas. They're not including Z moves, and there is no Dynamaxing. So I'm down with all of that. Like a Nat Dex league with just Megas, beautiful, perfection. Other things, moves that were cut from the game are still, no-goes. Cannot have those, which completely makes sense to me. I like that a lot. Why are we trying to play games in a make-up world when we're, in a magical world of make-believe that, cut moves exist? That's just silly. Yeah, so no things like Pursuit, no Hidden Powers, no Tail Glows, stuff like that. But other than that, everything else is pretty standard. It was a point-based draft system. We started off with 120 points to spend on anywhere between 9 and 11 Pokemon. I decided to go for 11 because it's me. And, I'm all about them budgets. So, without further ado, let us go ahead and start taking a peek at what I picked up for this league. For the name scheme, I actually went for a Rurouni Kenshin name scheme. For those of you who have seen Rurouni Kenshin, kudos to you. You've watched a really fantastic show. If you have never seen Rurouni Kenshin, I implore you to check it out. It's a really, really good show, really solid story, really enjoyable main cast of characters. It's just a good little experience. It's a fun little time. But yeah. So I'll kind of try to give like a brief description of like what each character was, and will they all fit the Pokemon that they're attached to? No, definitely not. But it was very, very difficult to find ones that fit, because see, with with Pokemon, like they're all like elemental creatures, right? So typically, if you're going for like a name scheme with an anime or something, you kind of try to go for someone with like a similar kind of elemental style or whatever. Like Fairy Tail is a really easy one to do name schemes for. It's Fairy Tail and My Hero Academia, because they have like very specific power sets that like you can very easily tie to certain Pokemon. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. But Rurouni Kenshin doesn't really have that because, well, they're all just swordsmen for the most part. They're just a lot of them have different styles and stuff of swordsmanship, but they're all just swordsmen at the end of the day. So they're not all going to fit particularly well, but do the best we could, man. It's just gonna be, we're just gonna have to roll with it. So come along for the ride. Our first pick, I wanted to pick up my Mega early as hell because I wanted to make sure that I got one of the better ones that was out there, and I did so by picking up the Steel Fairy type Mega Mawile. If y'all remember way back in the day, when we were back in the PTL, the classic Color League, we had Black, and Mega Mawile was our Mega in the Black League, and that thing just... It was so disgusting to watch what Mega Mawile did, because so often I didn't even need attack investment, and it would just be able to 2-KO an entire team. Nothing switched into this Mon. Nothing switches into this Mon comfortably if the predictions made are correct. Like, it is truly always a threat to something. Having access to priority, having access to stealth rocks, this thing just does a lot for the team. Its name is Kaoru because it's the most feminine looking thing on my team, and Kaoru is the main love interest and female character in the show, so made sense to name it Kaoru because, female. And if I had a Rurouni Kenshin name scheme and I didn't name something Kaoru, I think that I would lose my right to be a Rurouni Kenshin fan. But Mega Mawile is really, really awesome. It was decently expensive for the 17 points, but I definitely think that 17 points is more than an acceptable amount to pay for this beast. 100% more than acceptable. The next one we're going to pick up is going to finish off our Fairy Dragon Steel Core early. Get that out of the way. And we are picking up Kenshin the Salamence. I had to have something named Kenshin. I don't have anything that's like a swordsman. Well, I do have something that's kind of like a swordsman, but its name makes more sense once we get to it. But I saw Salamence as like more of like a prominent member of the team. Like if Kaoru's the lead lady, then obviously Kenshin in here is going to be the main man of the squad. I see him being one of our main offensive threats throughout most of the season, and with those kind of offensive stats, how can you blame me? Salamence was 15 points. At that point, I was looking at some of the other dragons that were up and available. Most of the ones that I was kind of interested in using were already gone. So, this is one that I haven't used in a very, very long time. Excuse me for the yawn. I definitely have not gotten a chance to use it so far in Gen 8 since it just came back. So, I wanted to get a chance to utilize this Mon with some of its new tools, especially like Dual Wing Beat for like a solid flying type stab for like the physical sets. It has Hurricane as well as for special sets, so it's a Mon that can function perfectly on either side, and with its very balanced offensive stats, it can do so very easily, which I think is fantastic for us. The versatility on this Pokemon is amazing, and with its very balanced defensive stats as well, I can use this thing as a tank with Intimidate. It has Wish support. It can roost for itself. Like it's a Pokemon that can pretty much fill whatever role I need it to fill in whatever week I need it to fill it, which I think is incredibly important for this team. So I'm very, very excited to I'm very excited to have this Mon for sure. Fingers crossed that it does really well for us. I have no doubts in my mind that it will, because it's just that good. It always has come through for me in the past. I definitely expect it to come through for me here, without a doubt. Next up, we have our water type Suicune also known as Gine. Gine was a serial killer that tested Kenshin's newfound morality early on in the series. It was a very, very interesting little mini story arc that came about because of this guy. Very interesting stuff. Doesn't particularly fit Suicune, but it's fine. But Suicune here, everyone knows what Suicune does at this point. It is one of the bulkiest water types in the game. With pressure, it is stalling out most teams, if not all teams, very effectively. It can set up calm minds. It can just sit there and be bulky, rest, sleep, talk nonsense. Suicune is just an annoyance for everyone around it. It is just a pain to deal with. Always a pain to deal with. So I'm very, very happy to have Suicune on the team. It's certainly going to be a fun addition. Suicune brought me to the championship last, Nat Dex League I was in the JLPC. So hopefully it will be able to do the same here. The next mod I picked up is something that I have not used yet since its release. And that is Zarude for 12 points. Is nicknamed Yahiko. Yahiko is a student at Kaoru's dojo, who is also kind of a little bit of a obnoxious little punk, little kind of street punk kind of kid when you first meet him. But as things tend to happen when meeting Kaoru and Kenshin, people's hearts tend to change for the better, and he becomes a student of the dojo, and you get to watch his growth throughout the series. Even though he's a little bit of an annoying little bastard, sometimes he gets the job done. And he has spiky hair, so he kind of looks like Zarude. That's pretty much the gist of that one. So, Zarude, while I personally have never had an issue against it in leagues yet, it always has potential to be a problem. Between its really solid attack stat and its incredible natural bulk and speed, this thing is definitely going to be a problem for some people to deal with. It has the potential to always be a good defensive option. It can be an incredibly strong offensive option. A lot of ways that Zarude can really benefit the team. And I'm sure that it is going to put in as much work as physically possible against many of our opponents. And I'm sure that it is going to do well. Without a doubt in my mind. Because Zarude is cool. I like Zarude. Zarude seems like it'll be a fun Pokemon to use. I think it's going to be fun. So we shall see how it goes. Next up, we have our electric type. I got sniped on this one. I really wanted Regieleki because I haven't used it yet, but that thing went like 3 picks before me in the same round that I got Zarude. So that was very unfortunate. But it is what it is. I just had to try to pick it sooner and in the next draft that I'm in. Fingers crossed we'll be able to get it there too. But I picked up for our electric type Shishio the Xurkitree. Now, Shishio, I would have tied to my fire type, but I just didn't feel like it fit. And Shishio kind of looks like a mummy, so with his like tangle of wires, I kind of like... That's about as close as I can get to it. Something that made sense, so we're going to go with that. That insane special attack stat is why people grab Xurkitree, because if you don't have a ground type, if you don't have an electric immunity, even if you resist it, you don't want to be tanking volt switches from this thing very much. This thing is so obscenely strong. Without any investment even. Like, you don't even have to invest in its special attack for it to be obscenely strong. which is cool because I think I can possibly make that work and get a lot of, bulkier sets out of this thing this season, hopefully. Even though its bulk isn't that great, I can make it work. But regardless, this thing hits so hard all the time. It's so strong. I definitely think this thing's going to be a problem for a lot of people to deal with. I'm sure that there's some teams that don't have... realistically, every team should have a ground type. But does every team have a ground type that isn't weak to grass? Because we do have Energy Ball. We do have Energy Ball. Just saying out there. We have our ways of dealing with your ground types, sir. And or madam. I don't know if there's anyone in the league that is female, but if there is, madam. Unfortunately, I'm actually looking at the teams. I don't think there's a single one that doesn't have a ground type. Y'all are smart. Y'all are smart people. I should have expected such from a league of this caliber. But you can never be too sure. Even the one that doesn't has an electric immunity on the team. Interesting. Yeah, if they don't have a ground type, they have an electric immunity. If they don't have an electric immunity, then that doesn't exist. Every single team has an electric immunity. Damn. Unfortunate. Oh well. It is what it is. But Circuitry will be able to deal with those. It has access to grass coverage. It has access to a couple other coverage moves as well. And with the special attack set like that, you're still going to struggle to switch into it on a regular basis anyway. So, super excited for using Circuitry. The pairing of Mega Mawile plus Circuitry coming back from the old PTL days. This is going to be a lot of fun. Next up, we are picking up a bit of a cleric for the team in Megumi the Komala. Megumi was a character who was originally selling or making drugs in the show, but ends up becoming a doctor, a bit of a medicine person within the show, and she is very, very good at it. She ends up working alongside some top-notch doctors, so it's pretty cool. But figure that kind of made sense here, since this thing is going to be passing them wishes left and right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be passing wishes all day, every day to everybody. Now, this thing also has Rapid Spin, so this gives us another form of hazard removal aside from defog on Salamence. Rapid Spin for that removal. This is also a really, really good mod to have against some stallier teams that might want to spam statuses against us, because this thing is a status sponge, because it cannot be statused, for it is technically already asleep. Which, also presents the option of using the classic Choice Banded Sleep Talk Last Resort set, because, well, it's technically always asleep. So I can just spam Last Resort, which is fun. It's one of my favorite sets to ever use with this Pokemon, so hopefully... this is a fun Pokemon. I love Komala. It's unfortunate that I haven't been able to play with it since Gen 8 started, because outside of Nat Dex leagues, but I haven't been in very many Nat Dex leagues since Gen 8 started. So I have unfortunately been unable to play with my happy little koala friend, but thankfully we are here and have the option once again, and I was not going to pass that up. Next Amon, we actually were able to jump back up to a higher tier because we still had a lot of points left, and I knew how the rest of our points were going to go. and that is going to be Aoshi the Mamoswine. Aoshi Shinomori, he kind of becomes an important side character. As he basically becomes he's a leader of a group that Kenshin faces off with earlier in the early in the series, and then later kind of keeps coming back to face him again as kind of like a test of his abilities. He gets obsessed with it, and he needs to beat him in order to feel like he is strong. One of those kind of characters. But he's very stone cold. He's got a very icy stare to him. So I thought that Aoshi would work with our cold friend here, Mamoswine. He also uses 2 swords in some portions of the show. So 2 swords to 2 tusks. It works out. I'm stretching for some of these, if you haven't tell. But what's important about Mamoswine is, very simply, this Mon always does work. It is a Pokemon that, in my personal opinion, is one of the best, period, no debate, best offensive Mons in Draft League. Because there is very rare instances where you can have a team where your entire roster isn't just mowed over by ice and ground type coverage. It is a Mon that hits so hard that it can very easily 2KO an entire team with just its stab moves alone and not have to worry. That's something that I love thoroughly about this Pokemon, because it's a no-think Pokemon almost. You can kind of just throw this thing out there and, click a move, and you're probably going to get a crazy amount of damage off on something, and potentially even a KO on something, which is nutty. It's such a fun Pokemon to use. It's a Stealth Rock user, which is nice for the team. We don't have a lot of Stealth Rock coverage here for the team. In fact, this is our only Stealth Rock user. But it's not the worst thing in the world, because obviously with boots and stuff, a lot of things that are really weak to rocks nowadays aren't going to be bothered by them. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely something we can potentially look at in the future to fix if we determine that's necessary. But I don't think it will be. I think it'll be fine. Overall, I think Mamoswine provides a lot for the team, and I'm super excited to use it. I don't really get to use Mamoswine a lot because it's always drafted way before I even would consider it. So happy that I got it here. It was sitting there at round 7, and if you see a Mon like Mamoswine sitting at round 7, you're gonna take it. The next Mon we pick up is actually a character that was also a part of the group that Aoshi Shinomori was in, and that is Hiyotoko, the Skuntank. Hiyotoko was a big dude who had an oil drum attached to his body that allowed him to spit fire, and that kind of fits here with Mr. Skuntank because he does carry fire coverage, and I can just make the assumption Hiyotoko was a really big, chubby dude. I'm assuming he was probably pretty stinky. So having him be named after a skunk makes sense. I picked up Skuntank because I needed some more defog support, which I think is very important for this team. Gives me an alternate form of dark type coverage, gives me a Sucker Punch user, which is very, very important. Also gives me a grounded poison type, so that teams that might consider the idea of using Toxic Spikes against us can second guess that strategy, because we have something that just automatically absorbs it. which I'm sure that that is going to come into play plenty of times with I'm sure it's going to come in play plenty of times with Skuntank here. I've always loved using Skuntank. It's always done well for me, and I certainly expect it to do well for me here as well. Going to be a lot of fun to use Skuntank once again. The next one we picked up is, I wanted to have a fast Psychic type, so I grabbed Misao, the Espeon. Misao is a character introduced fairly late in the series. She is a young ninja that befriends, that is also technically a part of the same group as the last two characters. She's the youngest member, and she idolizes Aoshi almost to a fault. But she's a lovely little character. She's really, really cool. Yeah, she's a small, feminine little ninja, and I thought kind of like a more feminine character like Espeon would kind of fit for Misao. So yeah, that's what we're going with. It's simple as that. Magic Bounce is going to be interesting. Bounce status moves, bounce back hazards, stuff like that. It's going to be really important. It's our fastest mod on the team, which is also nice. So we have that nice base 110 speed tier. Really hard hitting Psychic type. Decent little bits of coverage, things like Grass Knot, Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, stuff like that. The main purpose of this mon existing is it's gonna be here to Psychic spam and really rip through a team. Excuse me. Yeah, really just kind of rip through certain teams, and with that, once we clear out some dark types, because Espeon is just that strong. It's a mon that, if left unchecked, it is really, really hard to come back from. So super excited to have this. Espeon's a fun Pokemon. I actually don't believe I've ever used Espeon in Draft League. I could be wrong, but I don't remember if I've ever drafted Espeon before. So very excited to have this thing. Can't wait to see what it can do. Next up, I needed a fighting type for the team. It's one thing that I always feel is incredibly important, especially when you know you have to deal with dark types in the future. You always got to take care of those dark types, wipe those things out. So I picked up Sanosuke the Sirfetch'd. I named this thing Sanosuke because, one, he is a fighter for hire. So, he likes to fight a lot. It's his whole thing is he just fights people. He's a fighter. And later in the series, he punches all the time. But the very beginning of the series, when he's first introduced, which I'm almost annoyed that they never... never tried to get him a new one. He had a giant sword, like a very, very large sword. I don't remember what the kind of sword is called. But it was a very, very large sword. Very, very large. It's a Zanbato, which I wish that they gave back to him at some point, because that would have been really cool. Because he was really, really good with it, and then they just decided to take it away from him. And after it was broken, and they never decided to get him a new one. Kenshin never bought him a new sword. Why? Because he's an asshole. But big sword on Sirfetch'd makes sense. Scrappy makes this thing so good. because its close combat hits hard on everything, period. I've even hit things that resist its close combat before and chunked them for like 35-40%. It's ridiculous. This thing hits so much harder than it should be allowed to, which is always fun. It excites me to have this mon again because I've never been disappointed with what Sirfetch'd can do. It has never once been brought to a game where it didn't do exactly what I needed it to do. And I'm sure expecting it to do it once again, because Sirfetch'd is just that good of a Pokemon. Like if you have not used Sirfetch'd in a draft league or just in general, I strongly suggest you doing so, because it is more than worth the pickup. And this thing was only worth 10 points. So I definitely think that it is well worth the pickup for you guys. So definitely check it out if you get a chance. It's a fun Pokemon. Plus it gives me another bit of defog support. So I have triple defog plus rapid spin plus magic bounce. Hazards be damned. The last Pokemon we have is a fire type that I decided I wanted to pick very, very early on. Like, incredibly early on in the draft, I determined that I wanted this thing. As I saw it down in the lower tiers. It's only 2 points. So that actually leaves us with 2 points left. Okay. Sorry about that. My brain just kind of shut down for a minute. Yeah, but it was a fire type I saw down low, and I've never utilized before. I've used its evolution, but I've never used Magmar. His name is Hajime, after Hajime Saito. He is a friend of Kenshin's / rival of Kenshin's who has come to his aid on multiple occasions. He's a member of like a police force within the Japanese government. He uses a very interesting, cool style that involves, thrusting the sword instead of slashing, which is very, very cool looking to watch in the show. And just a very interesting, very cool character, a little more ruthless. And I'm hoping that Magmar will be very ruthless for our team. Coverage-wise, kind of lacks in certain areas, but that's okay. Has access to things like teleport and stuff now, which is very, very cool. It also has access to an incredibly diverse, incredibly balanced set of stats. 65 HP, 57 defense, and 85 Spadef with Eviolite can be utilized pretty effectively if done right. And then 95 and 100 in our attack and special attack respectively makes this thing an incredibly balanced offensive mon. And then 93 in speed gives us a really interesting little speed tier in the middle there. Our speed tiers are very interesting because we go from like Mega Mawile slow to at base 50 to Sirfetch'd at 65, Kamala at 65. And then we just go from like everything else is from like 80 to 93. And then we bump up to 100 and then 105 and 110. But we have like 3 or 4 mons within the range between 93 and 80, which I think is really cool. Everything's around the same speed, so plenty of potential scarf options, plenty of potential, fast bandit or scarf or specs options. All very valuable options for our team, and I'm happy about that. It's not the most diverse speed tiers, but I'm sure I will be able to make it work in my favor, because I have to. I gotta make it work. But Hajime, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to use. Magmar is a cool Pokemon, and if worse comes to worse, I can always upgrade it at some point in the season. I do have 2 extra points, so I can always utilize those 2 points to upgrade it or upgrade something else and swap Magmar out. Plenty of options to deal with that, but for now, I think it'll be fine. I think we can perfectly make Magmar work for us here, without a doubt in my mind. So yeah, that's going to be all for now. I am so excited to be a part of this league, and week 1 will be coming up sooner rather than later. I'm going to try to keep the UPA as caught up to the season as possible, so it might go up on either late Sunday or Monday, depending on when my battles can get done. It really just depends on all of that, because obviously I can't upload my stuff beforehand. As for how I'm going to upload these, I think I'm actually going to pair them together, the team builders plus the battles. I might be doing post-com, I might be doing live-com for them. I'm not entirely sure yet. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see. I'll kind of make the determination as I go along. But I could very well see myself live-comming these. I think that would be fun. But my team builders are also fairly long-winded, and this is Showdown, so post-com might be the way to go. We'll see. I'll make the determination for week 1, and then I'll just stick with that from then on out. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe if you have not already for more UPA-related content. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the weeks to come. But that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I'm PokePrimer, and I'm signing off. Peace!